Sadly, we do, because there are people out here who don't get the concept. And when people don't get the concept, it makes all of us look what? Bad. I'm sorry, I'm not willing to sacrifice my business because one of you ends up being one of these snakes we talked about. It just ain't gonna happen.
Yes, sir.
It ain't right. And frankly, if we all do understand these concepts and practice them, our industry thrives. So I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. I'm a capitalist. This takes money out of my pocket or puts money in it. And if you're taking money out of my pocket, you've made a pretty powerful enemy. If you're helping me put money in my pocket, you are my friend. If you're a Cubs fan, you are my friend. If you like New York style pizza, we're gonna have words.
Chicago deep.
Chicago deep dish, baby. I grew up in Chicago. If you can fold the pizza, it ain't pizza. All right?
You can fold it, is that what you said?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. If you can fold your pizza, it ain't
You
pizza.
gotta eat it with a
So,
fork.
let me give you the definition about being ethical. This is out of the Oxford Dictionary. Are you going to be tested on this? Maybe not in class, but you're going to be tested in this once you get out there and start
In
working.
life.
So, definition of ethics. These are the moral principles that govern a person's behavior or in the conduct of an activity. I like Mark Twain's better. Always do what's right. Always. This will gratify some people and astonish others. Some of you will get that. Some of you won't. But to me, this is probably the best definition of all, is from George Bernard Shaw.
I like
Ethics are what you do when nobody's watching you.
That's a good one.
That's it.
You know? Say that again?
Also called integrity.
Integrity. Ethics, integrity, pride, professionalism are all wrapped together. I'm sorry, if you don't have any ethics, if you don't have any professionalism, get out. Just flat out. I have zero patience for it. I've been in the business a long time, not nearly what Mr. Jones has, but I've seen it. And I remember I spent my career, my first career, dealing with people who had no ethics, or they wouldn't be dealing with the police, now would they?
Right.
Right.
They wouldn't need a detective sitting in front of them going, why the hell did you do what you did? All right, so I want you to understand something. This is your job. This is part of your job. This is your responsibility, is to master this. And I can't emphasize this enough. This is not just because it's required by the Texas Department of Labor and Regulation or Licensing and Regulation. This is because this is what we do. And this is what makes us professionals. So I want you to understand it. If you're not ethical, you cannot be professional. The two are tied together.
Yes, sir.
You all good with that?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I'll do the Mike Jones thing. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
There we go. All right. You not only have moral obligations, which really can't be measured, you have legal obligations, which can. There are consequences if you don't abide by your legal regulations, right?
Yes, sir.
There are consequences if you break the law, correct? Are
Correct.
there consequences if you violate your morals and ethics?
With God,
Yeah.
there is. Let me
Yes,
tell
ma'am.
you what.
Yes, ma'am. And the answer is, yes, there is. And it's going to be different every circumstance for every one of us. So I want you to understand this. You have moral obligations, which there may or may not be a law for. You have legal obligations, which are black and white. You have both. And I'm going to say this too. You, as an auctioneer graduating this school, have an obligation to me. You have an obligation to every other auctioneer in this industry. You agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
They have an obligation to you, do they not? And we're going to understand when people don't uphold their obligation, there are consequences, including us calling them out for not maintaining their professionalism. I have no problem calling out somebody who's violating the ethics of our industry because they are hurting me and my family. And I ain't putting up with that. I worked too hard, too long to get where I'm at. Ethics are not a choice. There is no, gee, I think I'll be ethical today, but tomorrow, you know. Of course, we can skip
I'll
this
skip
class
it.
if y'all give me $50 a piece, right?
That was good. That was really good.
Some of you go, what? They're not a choice, they're a mandate. Flat out. I hate the word mandate now because of the past 2 years, but
Yeah.
ethics are a requirement. You do not have a choice. Flat out, okay? And we talked about this earlier. A reputation takes sometimes years to gain a good reputation. How long does it take to lose it?
Second.
Split second. One poor decision, one poor comment, one poor act can ruin your reputation. How hard is it to get your reputation back after you lost it?
May not.
You might never.
Probably won't.
You might never. People might
Hopefully
forget
they forget.
or forgive, but what you did doesn't go away.
Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby.
They don't remember the 3,500 you finished, they remember the 30 you didn't.
That's right.
That was a really big one though, Kev.
I can tell you that.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm a very
Not just
big
Cal-
fan of Bill Cosby's comedy. I mean, not a big fan of what he's been accused of. I still love his comedy. Would I have him in my house around my daughters? I can't afford to. You know, you just never know. So I want you to understand something. We're also in the auction industry. We are a small community. There's only so many of us across the country. What you do here in Texas, the auctioneers in Maryland are going to know about in about 3 minutes.
Oh.
It doesn't take long for word to spread in our business. You do not want to be known as somebody who makes us look bad. Just, you know what, my opinion, if you're not going to follow the rules, if you're not going to be ethical, get the hell out of this business. I don't think I can be any stranger than that. All right? So this is from the NAA, the National Auctioneers Association. I want you to all read this. This is in your book. It's also on the slide here. This is their code of ethics.
Out loud?
No, just read it yourself. Have enough time to get you guys to do Betty Bonner. Read this together would be a nightmare. Second bullet point, we shall provide the highest level of competent service. Highest level. It means you need to continuously learn, you need to continuously improve. You need to make sure that what you're doing is good enough. And I'll add this, what was good enough yesterday is not good enough today. So you need to constantly get better. And the more experience you have here, the easier it becomes to maintain that professionalism. All right? You need to know that we even have as an organization, your state organizations, your national, we build in code of ethics just to become a member. And if you violate those code of ethics, get out, we'll kick you out. I was on the board of the Colorado Association for 7 years, got to serve as president for 2. Had a complaint against an auctioneer. And we're not a licensed state in Colorado. We don't have a Department of Regulation looking after us. The only recourse people have is civil liability. They can sue you if they don't like you. We had somebody come complain that an auctioneer had not paid them their money from consignments. Auctioneer did not pay their consignment. Is that a problem?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now this person who complained came to the Colorado Auctioneers Association to file a complaint. Does that person at this point who's filing a complaint for not getting paid have a beef with the auctioneer or beef with our industry and association?
The industry.
They now look at the entire association, which at that point was about 150 people, and thought, you're all snakes. This guy's not paying me, what are you going to do about it? You're the association, hold him accountable. Well, we did, to the extent that we could, which was get out. And we kicked him out of the association. And we also advised this person, here's a couple of good lawyers, go sue them. Because this is as much as we can do. In Texas, you have licensing laws, so we can hold you even more accountable. All right, I want you to understand something too. We're dealing with a bunch of things when we're talking about ethics and professionalism. We're talking about rules of conduct for the association. We're talking about morals and standards as adults that we should all have, but we're also talking about black and white laws. There are things out there that we need to be familiar with. The Federal Trade Commission, can they hold you accountable for doing something wrong? Yeah, they can hold you accountable civilly. You're not going to go to prison if you don't disclose that cracked engine. But they can hold you liable civilly, and that can get very expensive. So the Federal Trade Commission says, we cannot represent goods that have characteristics that they do not. Yeah, sure, that car will start, don't worry about it. It's missing an engine. But it'll start, don't worry about it, trust me. And we sold it as is, where is, so you can't do anything about it.
Oh,
Is that right?
no.
No.
You know what?
It's terrible.
If there's a flaw with an object, what's your responsibility with that flaw?
To disclose.
Disclose it. All right, now there's been a big battle in the industry lately because one of the industry experts has ordained that as an auctioneer you must inspect everything you sell for latent defects. What is a latent defect? Latent means you can't see it.
Oh.
So, yeah, no, that's not true. But you do have to observe for any obvious or visible defects. And if your client says there's a defect, what must you do? Disclose it. Will people still buy that item if there's a defect?
Yes.
Will they spend the same as if there wasn't a defect? Are you in trouble if you sell it and don't disclose the defect?
Yes.
You're in trouble with the law, and you're in trouble with your morals and your ethics. It's not right. You know what? I tell my clients, well, you don't have to tell them that the brakes are leaking. Yeah, I do. And if you ask me to be unethical again, you and I are done. I'm not willing to risk my reputation over a defect somewhere. In fact, I make sure my team, when they're out there doing inventory and photographing and putting catalogs together, if you see a crack or a break or a chip or a tear or whatever, feature it. I want the buyer to know that that lazy boy's got a big old spot on the bottom of the cushion. Can they flip the cushion over? Sure they can, but they need to know that that cushion has a spot. Because what happens when my buyer goes to pick it up and sees a spot that we didn't tell them about?
They're gonna raise hell.
They're going to raise hell, and rightfully so. And if I don't take care of them because it's as is where it is, you agreed to that, then my reputation is shot. Not for me. I'll fix it if there's a problem. Now, if I didn't know about it, it's another story. But that means I need to train my staff to do what when they're doing catalogs? Inspect, and at least look it over. If you're going to sell a vehicle and you haven't bothered to try to start it, that's a problem. If you look at my website right now, I've got some vehicles up online. You know, they start, they run. How do I know? Because I started them. And I have video of the engines running. I've even got a couple of old sleds, a couple of snowmobiles from the 10th Army Mountain Division, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
That were donated to the fire department. I've got my fire lieutenant firing them up and driving them across the dirt lot. But we can know that. What if they didn't start? Disclose it. So one of the items in this auction is a big old 20-inch wide or 27-inch wide snow thrower. Crank, can get it to start. What's the first thing it says? Doesn't start. Might it start for you? Maybe. If you know how to work on small engines, it's a good investment. Very much so. But it doesn't start now. And it may or may not start for you. I tell my people that. And I make sure my staff knows to look for that. I'm not going to sell a Rembrandt if somebody stuck a knife through it without telling them, hey, this canvas has a knife hole in it. Are they going to buy it? No. But it's not my job later to fix the problem because I lied to them. So here's my thought when it comes to disclosing flaws. If you don't look for flaws, you're lying. Do you have to put it into an x-ray machine and examine it from bumper to... No. But if you look it over normally and carefully, if there's something wrong with it, it's obvious, you'll see it. Put it in your description. All right? Describing something as original or new when it is not is an offense according to the Federal Trade Commission. I could see that happening with merchandise that's been returned to a store and sold as new. As auctioneers, we can buy truckloads of stuff that are store returns and resell it. Well, that's fine. Tell people that they're store returns. And they know up front that it may or may not work, right? This next one is your authority to negotiate terms. We don't deal with that a lot. Go back. Failure to disclose information that otherwise would have dissuaded a buyer. In other words, we withheld something from you that had you known it, you wouldn't have bought it. To me, that's lying. We don't do that. Right? So the Federal Trade Commission, U.S. Code, provides penalties when you mislead consumers. What's the job of the Trade Commission? What's their role? To protect the consumer, right? And if we do anything that hurts the consumer, the Trade Commission can come and say, you screwed up, we're going to hold you accountable for it. It's a civil penalty, but they can do that. So now we're going to talk about the Sherman Antitrust Act. You've heard these words before, right? Mm-hmm. What's the word that comes to mind when you hear Sherman Antitrust Act?
Monopoly.
Monopoly or
Sherman taint?
Collusion. We're going to talk about that. So there's an extra set of zeros. Actually, there's not. That's correct. Every person who shall monopolize or attempt to monopolize or combine or conspire with another has violated the Antitrust Act. And when we say conspire, we mean me and Todd going, hey, listen, there's 2 of these bailers coming up. You bid on the first one, I'll bid on the second one. We're not competing with each other, and that way we'll both get our bailers cheap. Have we just defrauded somebody? Who have we defrauded? The seller. Because had it been a fair and open competition, we'd have been fighting it out and we'd have driven the prices up. But we colluded to keep the prices low. That's stealing. And if the Sherman Antitrust Act says if you do that, you have violated the act and there are penalties, there are civil penalties. In fact, they can fine you millions of dollars.
But what if it's your president?
We're gonna forget that you said that.
Well, wouldn't it be the same like when
That's good, but
the auctioneer guys, like you said just a little bit ago, doesn't pay the people?
Yeah. Well, no, that's different, that's just straight theft. Failure to pay a consignor is theft.
But could they be held by law?
Yeah, it's theft. I gave you something to sell, you had an agreement with me to give me the money, you sold it, kept the money for yourself, that's conversion, that's theft.
And over 500 is a felony,
Depends upon your state. California, under 10,000, it's traffic ticket.
Is there,
Right.
is there a burden of proving, like, say those two guys colluded, but if they're not the only two buyers at the sale, I mean, is that really a monopoly? I mean, like, there's.
How do you prove it,
Right.
right? So, I told you guys I did the Denver car auctions, I sold for the sheriff for years, I've sold literally a couple 100,000 cars. And at every auction, there's a couple of guys over in the corner going, I'm gonna bid on that, and you bid on them, and we'll deal with it later. Are they colluding? Yeah. Can I prove it? No. So how do I deal with it? Yeah, you can.
Don't sell?
Kick them out, don't let them.
Kick them out, don't sell to them, or, you know, here's what my response is. Okay, I'm gonna make this clear to everybody in the audience, because there's a couple of you in the back that I suspect are doing this. If you're colluding, talking to each other, negotiating so that somebody bids less for my seller than they would normally, that's called collusion. If I catch you and can prove you're colluding, I'm on the phone with the FBI, and you guys are going to prison. So does that stop them? No, it makes them go around the corner so I can't hear the conversation. But I've now told the rest of the audience, I won't put up with it. And might I make a difference? Well, maybe not to these two idiots, but other people are thinking about it. Ooh, that sounds serious. Don't do it. It's my job to at least try to prevent it. Can I guarantee it won't be? No. Can I do my best? Yep. Yes, sir.
Have you ever had a buyer get something and then try to put a crack in it, say that it was cracked?
Oh, all the flipping time.
Now, what did you do, what do you do about that?
Hey, here's a photograph of it without a crack when you bought it, right? Because we used to get well, that car didn't have an engine.
You took it out.
Yeah. Did somebody take out the engine as I was calling bids? Because I was standing here watching the car. Pretty sure I didn't see anybody over there with tools taking the engine out before I sold it to you. You bought it as is and it didn't have an engine before. So yeah, that happens all the time. You just need to know what you had when you sold it, because they're going to come back and claim there was a problem later. Well, we photograph everything we're selling now that we're doing online. I got the front, the back, the inside. We plugged it in to see if it works. You're not going to get away with that. Now, if we missed it, by all means, I'll fix it. By all means, I'll fix it. So, I don't want to read the whole lot of you get it. Here's some things in the Sherman Antitrust Act. Price fixing. Two gas stations across the street from each other. They go up and tell you what, let's make sure that we're both, not getting screwed by the other. You put it at $3.20 a gallon, and I'll put it at $3.20 a gallon. Everybody will pay us both $3.20, we both win. Is that collusion?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, that's price fixing. Whether you try to fix the price high or low, whichever side of the equation you're on, it's price fixing. So that simply means we're either trying to convince somebody to sell it lower, or we try to rig it so that it sells higher. If people are colluding to not be fair and true in their competition, that's price fixing. That's collusion. That is a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Do people do this? Yes.
Kind of like a ghost bid?
That's exactly right. So auctioneers are guilty of this. And would you, sir, give me $100? $100 bid, now two. $200 bid, three. Now 400, thank you. Now 5. Where'd the 400 come from? Rafter Brothers, they're sitting up in the rafter. Right? Do auctioneers do that? Yes. Is it right? Hell no. If I don't have that $400 bid, I'm not going to ask you to give me 5. Now that's different than making a mistake. That's intentional. I don't want the bid because I took it from the lamp on the wall.
Plus, if nobody bids after that,
Yeah, well,
they're
then
screwing
you're stuck.
themselves. Yeah.
So now let me preface this. If you're selling with reserve, that means my seller has put a minimum price on it. You cannot sell this item, Jeff, if it doesn't bring $1,000. Well, then I have a right to bid up to $900 if the next bid's $1,000, because it's not going to sell anyways. I have the right to bid up to the reserve on behalf of my seller if I do one important thing. Disclose it, it has to be in my terms, the buyers have to know. And I may, if I have an exceptional piece, say, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I do have a reserve on the item, I'm gonna bid up to the reserve on behalf of my seller. At that point, the next bid, it's open and fair game. So if I bid $900 and the next bid's $1,000, Pete offers $1,000, I go to $1,100, we're off reserve and it can sell. But if I go, I'm bidding on behalf of my seller, I'm at 900, but you give me 1,000 and nobody bids 1,000, sales off. I haven't hit my reserve, I don't have to sell the item.
Price fixing would also be if you and the other auction houses in Denver said, none of us are gonna do less than 9.62%.
Yes. If we agree to it, it becomes price fixing. Now, if it's open and fair competition, let's go back to the two gas stations. I own the gas station on this corner, you own the one on that corner, you put the price at $3.20. I'm like, crap, I'm at $3.30, they're gonna go across the street. Well, I'm gonna drop it to $3.20. Is that price fixing? Fair and open competition. Because you're gonna look and go, damn, he went to $3.20, I'm gonna go to $3.18. Does that 2 cents make a difference? Yeah, people will cross the street for 2 cents a gallon. Wow, I've got a 12-gallon tank, I just saved, 24 cents. Cost me 30 to cross the street, but that's okay, right? So anytime people bypass the process to determine a price, high or low, that's price fixing. That's collusion. Collusion is a crime, and the FBI will investigate it. You read some of the stories about auctioneers, like price fixing on a land deal. They wanted to sell it for X amount, they didn't have the bidder, so they drove the pricing up and then they sold it. They didn't have a reserve price on it, it was an absolute auction. You drove the price up to screw your bidders. You're going to prison. To me, I think that's a good outcome, right?
But what happens if somebody doesn't bid the 500, and you go 400, and you do the 500, you're going 400,
Yeah.
and it's not fixed,
If you don't have a reserve on it, who am I going to sell it to?
right?
Well, then, you know what the auctioneers will do, they'll put it on a house number, and it's okay, well, he defaulted later, that's why we're reselling it. You know what, your reputation is going to flush if you do that. You're going to flush.
So,
I don't play ghost bid, I don't play fake numbers. The only time I'm going to bid when I don't actually have a bidder is when I'm bidding for the seller on reserve, and I've told the audience. Are you guys okay if I say, listen, I have a reserve on it, I'm going to bid up to that reserve. If we don't hit it, I'm not selling it. So you may be at 500, 600, 700, I need 1,000, I'm going to go 800, you're going to go 9.5, I'll go 950, will somebody give me 1,000? When we hit that 1,000, I've hit my reserve, I stop bidding. I told y'all we were going to do that.
it's not gonna happen otherwise anyway.
Yeah, it's not going to sell. If I don't get the $1,000, what happens to the item? Doesn't sell. Or I go to my seller and say, listen, I'm at 900. That's my best bid. I know you wanted 1,000. What do you want to do? And this is what you're going to hear at the car auctions all the time. I don't have your reserve. What do you want to do? Sell it. Fine. I'm at 900. So, or they're going to say, I'm not selling. Fine. Take it off the block. Bring me the next car. So, but as long as we disclose, we can do that. And
So,
do you have to disclose at every item? No, you have to disclose in your terms, your announcements. The bidders have to be aware that you can do that. Yes, sir.
so say it's an online auction and Joe auctioneer is auctioneering something and there's no reserve on it, but somebody puts a max bid on something and they just run it up to that max bid. That's
Unethical to me, and that's lying.
Yeah.
It's cheating. Do people do it? Yeah. Y'all hear what he said, max bid, you know what a max bid is?
It's as high as I
So
Yeah.
a max bid, this is as high as I'm willing to go. So I put a max bid on something online, and that max bid is $500. That means I'm willing to pay you $500 for that item if and only if there's really other people bidding against me. So the item's right now at 200. I put in a max bid at 500. Well, if it's at 200, the next bid's likely to be 225 or 250, right? Well, if nobody puts in a bid at 225, then I get it for how much? 200, right?
200.
But if somebody bids 225, then especially online, my max bid's automatically going to bid 250. Well, then they're going to bid 275, and then instantly I go to 300. And it'll keep doing that until I hit $500. And once I hit $500, it stops bidding. And if it goes past $500, most systems are going to send the bidder notice going, hey, Rich, you've just been outbid, you better get back in there. Right? But if the auctioneer goes, ooh, I see he's got a $500 max and we're at 200, I'll just bid at 225. Ooh, now he's at 250, I'll just bid 275.
Oh,
Now
yeah,
he's
you
at
can't
3.
do that.
Is that ethical?
No.
No.
You're stealing. Okay? It's theft in my mind. Do auctioneers do it? I'm sure some do. I make it very clear to both my buyers and sellers that we see your maximum bids. And sellers, if they put in a maximum bid, I'm not jacking it up. It's gonna sell for what it sells for. And you're never gonna see that max bid. I don't wanna see it. Frankly, if I don't see it, I don't have to worry about it. But I have the ability to based on the software.
Yeah.
So does it happen? It could. I guard against it. You know, the exception would be, ooh, I want that. I want that Colt Python that's now at $200, $250. Crap, it's gonna go to $1,500 before I blink, so. But you get that, you get what he's saying. The buyer puts in a maximum bid, they're trusting you that you're gonna bid on their behalf, but it's a legitimate bid.
Yeah.
And if the other bidders are at $250 and they stop, well, then I get it at $275.
I mean, I know there's software that the auctioneers, that's, you can see it, but I don't know on, like, auction time, I don't know if they can see it or not.
You can't.
Because I
On
haven't,
auction time, I don't know.
I haven't witnessed it, so I couldn't tell you that, but
There was a time with auction time, there was a time with proxy bid, there was a time with all of them, we could see it. You know, doesn't make it right. Auction Flex is another system. I use Bid Wrangler, yet another system. There's dozens of systems, they're gonna go over that with you. But one of the things you need to ask is, do we have the ability to see the maximum bid? If we do, then you need to have the policies and ethics in place to leave it alone. You know, flat out, leave it alone. You know, there's times, and I've done this, where we have a reserve on something, and the max bid is this close to the reserve, so it's not high enough. My reserve $750, I've got a bid of $6, and it's not gonna sell because nobody else is bidding. What would you do? I'm gonna call the bidder and say, listen, you're this close to the reserve, if you wanna bring it up a little bit, we'll sell it to you. Okay, that's legitimate. What I'm not gonna do is enter a bid to bid against them just to drive the price up, which is what you were saying people might do, and they could. Yes, sir.
Can you call them?
Hang on, behind you.
Yeah, on online auctions, do they have, like, provide, like an email address or phone number for the bidders so you can do that?
Who can do that? That I can
Like
do
the
that?
auction-
It's in my terms and conditions. So it'll say, I can bid on behalf of the seller.
No, I mean, like, say you can call them and tell them,
That's just business,
yeah,
you
so,
know? So I can't divulge typically what the reserve is unless my seller says I can. Reserves are confidential unless your seller says you can divulge it. But when I'm that close, a simple phone call saying, hey, listen, dude, I can't tell you how much, but you're this close. You want to raise it a little bit? Sometimes they'll say, you know, what's it going to take for me to buy it? And nobody else is bidding. I'll tell them. You're at 600, you need to be 750. You want to win it? Yep, go to 750. Okay, put me in. Done. Seller's happy, right? Buyer may not have got it as cheap as they wanted, but they got it. They didn't miss the opportunity because I provided them a
So
service.
do you have the bidding at $750 once that guy goes up to your?
Well, I'm careful in my language. I say, you're this close to the reserve. You come up to 750, you'll hit the reserve. I'm not gonna say you bought it. I'm gonna say you hit the reserve, but nobody's bidding against you, so what does that mean? That means you'll probably get it.
All of a sudden, somebody decides to bid against it.
Then the fair, right? But, you know, they wouldn't have got it anyways if I didn't do
You
the
call him back
750.
and say, hey, they decided to bid on it?
System will. System will. So, good questions. You guys are thinking well, I like that. Jeff?
I was just gonna say, I just sold some land, and I didn't tell the auctioneer the reserve bid until after he was to the last bid. He called me
Mhm.
and asked me if we were there.
Yeah.
And that was the safe play, and I say I trust the guy, but I trust no one. Because you just, you know, you could tell anybody.
Yeah. So we have to be careful in what we disclose and don't disclose. And folks, if you want to disclose something, make sure you have the seller's permission to do so. You have permission, you can do whatever you want if somebody says it's okay. Don't disclose it if your seller hasn't given you permission. You know, when I'm dealing with, hey, we're off by $20, it's not a big deal. If I'm off by 20,000, I gotta watch what I say. At a real estate auction, for selling land, we're selling things worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, you need to be careful in your language. There's with reserve and there's absolute. What does absolute mean?
Sales.
it will sell.
I don't care what the top bid is, when I'm done calling for bids, it sells. Your $1 million property got a top bid of $806. What's it selling for? $806, because we said it was going to. That's an absolute auction. And the laws are very clear, once you announce it's absolute and start selling it, you don't have a choice. This is where we need to be careful about people bidding on behalf of your seller, right? If you say it's with reserve and my $1 million property has a reserve of 700, can I get people up to that reserve at 700? Sure I can, right? But I've heard auctioneers that have done this, they say, it's now absolute because we've hit our reserve. Ooh, don't ever say that. Because what if that person at 700 withdraws their bid? Can they withdraw a bid? Until you say sold, they sure can.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not a final deal until you say sold. So you say, hey, we're now the reserve's off, it's absolute, it will sell. Well, I don't want to bid 700 anymore. Well, the guy at 600 says, I don't want it, and you just sold it for $806, right? So you got to be careful of your language. I know Mike's going to cover absolute, reserve, with reserve, subject to seller confirmation. Just be careful. If you need to get somebody up to the reserve, you need to understand which part of this role you're playing.
That's what they do a lot on horse sales and stuff, and it's subject to seller.
Subject to seller confirmation. That means we have an unstated reserve. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I got to check with the seller to see if they'll accept your price. A bid is nothing more than an offer, right? And when you say, you know, Jeff gives me a $700 bid, and I look at him and say 700, now 750, what I've done is made a conditional acceptance to Jeff that I'll accept your $700 unless somebody wants to bid more. Then your offer is rejected. We go back and forth. If it's a reserve, I'm going to accept your $700 bid subject to the reserve. So if we're not there, I can't sell it to you.
Do they hit the gavel usually? I mean, is
Oh,
that-
every auctioneer is different.
We call it
That has
PO in
no
the catalog.
real-
Say that again?
PO in the catalog.
Yeah, it's a PO and a,
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
So I don't sell cattle. Flat out. I've sold buffalo. City of Denver has a buffalo herd. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Colorado.
So Denver has 2 herds. They have one up in the mountains on I-70. They have one in Castle Rock. And every spring, they would sell the yearlings to maintain the size of the herd. When we had the city contract, every spring, I'd drive up to the mud and the yuck in Denver, in the mountains, in the snow, because it was always in March, and I'd sell bison. I know anything about bison? They taste good. That's the extent of my knowledge about buffalo, but I haven't sold cattle. So you had a question or a comment?
So, we went to an auction and we bought a carpet cleaning van and they started to bid at like $15,000 or something like that. Well, no one was bidding and they kept going down and down and down. We bought it for $1,500.
Nice.
Yeah. And we wrote the check and everything that day and.
The sale bill said absolute,
Yeah.
no reserve.
And
auction.
months went by and they would never give us, no one would give us the title. And so I called the auctioneer.
Wouldn't
and
catch the check.
They wouldn't cash the check or anything. Called the auctioneer and the seller was pissed off because he didn't.
He sold it below
He
reserve.
refused and are you supposed to have the title beforehand?
Every state's different.
Well,
But
he
usually it's,
refused.
if you sell a vehicle, you have X amount of days to deliver title, it depends upon.
We never got the title.
Okay,
He
so-
refused it.
Understand this, I'm not an attorney, I don't play one on TV. I didn't spend last night at a Holiday Inn Express because that's across the parking lot. But here's my 2 cents worth of advice. If they said it was an absolute auction, they sold it, they owe it to you. I don't care what the harm is to the auctioneer. If the auctioneer said sold, it's an absolute auction, they owe you that product. And if the seller reneges, you've got a lawsuit. Is it worth pursuing? I don't know. Do you have a case? Yes, you do. Now, if it was with reserve, sorry, you're out of luck.
I said, did y'all get the bid and just not the title?
Oh, it was
Well,
a big thing.
Well-
So different states are different as far as whether or not you have to have the titles
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff beforehand.
Depends upon the type of sale too. Now, when I sell toted and pounded vehicles, title's not even a question, not my problem. When I'm selling for a private seller, yeah, I gotta deliver title. You know, and I had a problem with the seller. Here's a question for you. I sold a semi, Kenworth, and the seller FedExed title and keys to the buyer, right, different states. Buyer claims he got the keys, not the title. What's my responsibility?
Zero.
We have to
right?
guarantee title.
Oh,
Seller sent title. Buyer claims we never did. How do you prove you got the title?
Certified.
certified mail?
Certified mail says you sent the package, it doesn't say what's in it, right?
True.
This is buyer's word against seller's word, you know, so I never did see the title, seller says I sent it to him. We applied for duplicate title, his problem now. I'm out of this one, I don't know how they ever resolved it, but how do you prove that what you sent was in the package?
So would it be better to like, you have it in hand
That would be best.
instead of having to?
That would be best, and that was my intent, but we never saw it. Here's another thing, if you're gonna send a title to somebody by mail, videotape the title going in the envelope and being sent. And you have evidence that you sent them title.
But the best rule of thumb is have, like doing auctions,
Hand
title in
hand.
hand
Yep,
before you sell it.
yep.
Absolutely.
So getting a little off track here, boys and girls, I think I told you this earlier. This is our company motto. The easy thing and the right thing are seldom the same thing. And when I'm confronted with the choice, I choose the right thing. Does this cost me money? Absolutely. What's the consequence of not doing the right thing?
Customer for life?
My reputation is worth more than anything I can screw up in a transaction. I'll find a way to make it right if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm gonna fix it. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it costs me $8 or $80,000. If I'm wrong, I will fix it. If I sold you something and I knew there was a defect and we forgot to put that defect in the description, that's my responsibility, is it not? If I gotta buy it back and make it right, I'll buy it back and make it right. Is that gonna hurt? Yes, it will. Hurt enough that my employees will never do that again. They may never work for me again, but they're gonna learn. So understand something. To me, this is the summary of ethics. You do the right thing. I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how uncomfortable it is. I don't care how expensive it is. You do what's right, because if you don't, you screw us all over. I want to talk about professionalism. Number one, you first have to be ethical. You have to know the rules of what we do. You have to know the laws. You have to know what we as an industry expect of you. That's being ethical. In order to be professional, I think professional is the next step above being ethical. Ethical means you do just what's right. Being professional means you go above and beyond. I want to be the best auctioneer in my community. I want to be the best auctioneer there is. I got a lot of competition because there's some great auctioneers out there. But there's some things I can do to continually be better. Here's some of them. I want to continually offer a higher level of service. What I provided yesterday was good. What I provide next time will be better. And we, as a company, debrief every auction we conduct. What went well, what didn't go well, what should we do different? Sometimes we look at it and go, hey, it went great, we don't need to do anything different. Other times it's like, you know what, maybe we should have put the lots in a different sequence so that we can make more money for the seller. If I'm making more money for the seller, what am I doing for me? Making more money for me. Yeah, let's do it. Let's make sure we're continually being better. So my customers, when I'm talking about service, are my sellers, my buyers, and my staff. My employees are my customers. Because I have to provide them with a high level of service, or they do what?
Leave.
They leave, or worse yet, they stay. And they don't perform well. I'd rather have them leave than stay and be miserable. That's like cancer. So I want to make sure that I'm providing service to my sellers, which means we constantly review what we're doing. How do we improve? What technologies can we use? Can we get different lights for the camera so that we can take better pictures? We have these conversations on a regular basis. On the buyer side, how do we know what we need to do to make the buyers happy?
Ask them.
Ask them. We poll our customers and say, hey, listen, how can we improve our service to you as a bidder? What would make things better for you? And we ask, and we listen. And then we do the same thing with our team. But I'm also very cognizant of what's my industry doing? What's going on in the world of auctioneers? What are the changes in technology or software? What are the changes in attitude? What are the things that are working and not working for sellers? How do I continually do better for my people? That's professionalism. Professionalism covers a lot more than that. I want to make sure you're maintaining your current education. What are you learning? I've heard of auctioneers who have never been to a class in their careers. Does that make them a bad auctioneer?
No.
They might be really good at what they do and they're still in tune, but they've never had more education. Now take that same auctioneer and give them some continuing ed. How much better are they going to be? A lot better. They're going to have more knowledge, more tools. To me, knowledge means tools for you to do a better job. Right? I've been a lifelong, it took me 20 years from the time I dropped out of high school to the time I earned my master's degree in education. Does that make me smarter? No. It just makes me tenacious. Right? Same thing in the auction industry. You know, this wasn't a career choice for me. You guys know that, right?
Yeah, it was your wife's.
I didn't want to be an auctioneer.
Nah.
Shannon wanted me to be an auctioneer. I didn't want to. So we compromised, and I became an auctioneer, right? But once I became an auctioneer and I started enjoying this profession, ooh, this is cool. What else can I do? Where else can I go? Well, I joined my state association, and I joined my board. I spent 7 years on the board in Colorado. I joined the board of the National Association. That's how I met most of the people in the industry. There's some 3,000, 3,500 members of the National. I know most of them by name. I know a whole bunch of them by face, and we're friends, a lot of us on social media. But they convinced me that there's more to this industry. So I got my designations. I learned how to be an appraiser. I learned about benefit auctions. I learned about machinery. I learned CAI and all the marketing things. Because to me, that makes me better at what I do, which is what my responsibility is to my buyers, sellers, and employees. When I come out and teach these classes, I learn from you guys. And I take that stuff back to the company and say, hey, here's what I learned. How do we use it? Always trying to strive for improvement. Right? You need to be a professional. We talk about appearance. Appearance can be different for different people in different circumstances. I'm teaching a class, I'm wearing a tie. Y'all see that, right? I get my stroke for that. I'm wearing a tie. I look professional doing that. Is this how I'm supposed to show up to meet my clients when I'm looking for sellers?
Depends on
Who
the
said
client.
depends? Raise your hand if you say depends. I'm going to go out and meet a rancher who's running 300 head of cattle out on the eastern plains. If I showed up like this,
Yeah, not so
not
good.
so much. He's going to think I'm a revenuer. I'm going to sell him an extended warranty on his car, right? One of the two. So appearance is relative. But let me tell you this, whether you're wearing jeans and a hat or whether you're wearing a suit and a tie, it's clean and it's pressed and it looks nice, but it's appropriate to the situation. One of the things I've heard, I've been told, and I somewhat agree with it, is you dress one level higher than whoever you're working with. Well, if all the people I'm dealing with wear a sport coat, and slacks, well, I'm going to take the extra step and put a tie on.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in, Denver is the only real metropolitan area in Colorado. The rest of the place is country, it's ranch, it's farm. So when I'm doing storage auctions or I'm doing stuff outdoors, I'm wearing my cowboy hat and my boots. Clean jeans, pressed jeans. When I'm in a lawyer's office in downtown Denver, I'm wearing a suit. When I'm going to go meet an estate person whose, grandma died, because poor granny, she dies every day in the industry. This poor woman. So, when I go meet the family, it's like, well, they're probably casual, so I'm going to wear khakis or a nice set of slacks and, maybe a collared shirt, but I'm not going to wear this. Because the next day I'm going to be in their, basement digging through stuff. So I dress appropriate. Does image matter?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. What if I came to class and the first time I stood up and I spoke to you guys, I had on a ripped t-shirt and my blue jeans that looked like I was attacked by a grizzly and survived, and came in with my flip-flops or my Crocs? Would you have treated me the same as you did when you saw those?
No, you had a real cool tattoo.
Well, no. If I have any kind of tattoo, it's going to say me bacon, okay?
Poor Eric, he's getting clobbered for his 8 days.
No respect. God made you feel like you no respect. Does appearance matter? Yes. Now that you know me a little bit, appearance probably matters less because I've already made my first impression. Same with all you. But understand this, I want you to clothes to be clean. Manners are important. Anybody hear of a little food shop called Chick-fil-A? Anybody ever eat there?
The best training on the planet.
Notice her first response was best training on the planet, not best food.
No, it's the customer service. My pleasure.
It's my pleasure. One of the things that frustrates the hell out of me is when they say no problem. Well, yeah, if it was a problem, it ain't my problem, it's your problem. I hate no problem. I don't like that response. You're welcome, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being our customer. They say words that are very important that many people have forgotten.
God bless.
Sir,
God bless.
ma'am, thank you,
God bless.
please, right? So they understand manners. I expect that from my team as well. I want to hear the sir, the ma'am, the thank yous. I want you opening the door for whoever's walking in. If, Granny comes in with her walker and picks up a 10-pound item that she bought, carry it to her car. Even though we have big signs everywhere saying that we won't load or unload or carry. We don't provide labor. we're gonna provide labor for Granny so that she doesn't die, because I haven't known that Granny as it is.
I was gonna say, before she
So-
died.
My team,
Unless you know she's got a house to sell, right?
Yeah.
yeah, well, you know what, if Granny's worth a fortune, I may trip her on the way out.
Now we're going to the unethical box.
Now we've crossed the line. But my team, whether they're wearing t-shirts or sweatshirts or polo shirts, they've all got my logo on them.
Yeah.
I'll show you later pictures of my vehicles. They're all marked and have our logo on it. Having a clean professional image brings you business. Being the reputation of, you ever guys go, there's another fast food place out there that's been around for a while, it's called McDonald's.
Yeah.
How many of you go to McDonald's for the customer service? How many of you go to McDonald's for the food? How many of you
Both the
go to
worst.
McDonald's because it's on the way to wherever you're going and they're open?
I do it because of booze.
That's about it. So, I told you guys I do customer service training. McDonald's is my favorite target. Because I don't care when you go, where you go, what city you're in, you're gonna get a story about how bad their customer service is.
Oh, it's so.
My favorites are this. I went through the drive-up one day, pull up to the machine, the board, whatever you call it, and I hear this, what do you want? What I want is customer service. That's flown the coop already, right? So I gave them my order, which whatever it was, fries, the sandwich, and the drink. Guaranteed one of those three is gonna be wrong, right? Pull around the corner, and not even it's $3.18 or whatever, I get a hand out the window. Not even a conversation. Like, yeah, it's $3 whatever cent. $3 and whatever what? He tells me again, I said, how about please? He just didn't say a word, and I gave him my money and I drove up. And 2 out of the 3 were wrong. So, that's normal. My favorite though is this, you go to McDonald's, you order an ice cream cone. And their procedure is that for here or to go. It's an ice cream cone. If I say to go, are you gonna put it in a bag for me? They're so trained in, I'm only gonna follow the script, there's no customer service, there's no eye contact. They don't care if you gotta come back or not, they could give 2 shits. Excuse my French. I'm following our young man here who put them all in one statement, right? So, you didn't think I caught that. So, you go to Chick-fil-A, and if you did that at Chick-fil-A, how long are you gonna work there?
Oh, you'd be fired.
You'd be fired on the
Yeah.
spot, right? And,
have
even
a
if they
no
don't
tolerance policy.
mean have a nice day, when they say have a nice day, they at least sound like they mean
Yeah.
it, because they're smiling, right? So those images matter. If I'm faced with the decision of there's Wendy's, there's Chick-fil-A, there's McDonald's, where do you think I'm going?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. Is their food good?
I think
good
it's pretty
enough.
good.
I'm not
But it's
complaining
not
about it.
like- Yeah.
There's other food I'd rather eat,
Well,
but
yeah.
I ain't going to Wendy's and I ain't going to McDonald's. I'm going to Chick-fil-A because I know at least they will respect me.
Mhm.
And I expect my staff to have that same attitude. I want you opening doors. I want you saying please and thank you. We go through the extent that we write handwritten thank you cards. Why do we do handwritten instead of form letters or computer generated?
Personal.
It's personal. Remember, business is not just business. All business is personal. I want to extend that, right? And then you think about it. You get home, you open the mail. There's the bill. There's a credit card offer. There's a credit card offer. My credit's so bad, I get pre-declined credit card offers, right? So I get all these letters, and there's something that's handwritten. I don't care what it is. What do you think the first thing I'm going to open is?
The handwritten note.
Whatever's handwritten. Open it up and, hey, your car warranty's about to expire, right? But if it's handwritten, it gets opened first.
I should record this, so our organization, it's like, I will not get away from handwritten thank you notes. I mean, I'm talking for
Yeah.
every donor, so it's thousands of cards
Yes.
now a year, and my staff was like, Brittany, at some point, you have to let us start sending, email thank
No.
yous, and I said, no, that's when
So-
those are the changes that just.
I told you that I'm the
it's-
president of the board of my local food bank. It's a bigger charity than just a food bank.
Yeah, it's huge, yeah.
Right? So I get a report every month of all of our donors.
Mhm.
If the donation is $500 or more, Rich spends his own time writing a thank you card to every donor that gave us $500 or more that month.
Wow, that's amazing.
Come December and November, when we get our big influx of donations, I write hundreds of thank you cards to hand.
That's
You
awesome.
know, I think at the point, I'm sitting there watching TV and the
Yeah,
hand is just writing, but we do that, why? Because That is a relationship builder with our donor. I want you to do the same things with your customer. That's being professional. Could we send them an email? Sure we could. Do they care? No.
Oh, yeah.
They get that handwritten thank you card, even if they know we generate hundreds of them, at least they get the impression of we took the time to treat them well. Remember what we said earlier, it's not what you did or said, it's how you make them feel. When you open up an envelope, it's handwritten card's got your name on it, says thank you for your business, I appreciate that you bought something for us in this auction, whatever it is. Looking forward to seeing you again, makes you smile. Makes them think of us first, all right? So, DDD, talk about it, the professional attitude, Scrap, we talked about all that. So the golden rule for every business, I don't like that word businessman, every business person is this. I want you to put yourself in the customer's shoes. What's the golden rule?
Go roll.
Do unto others as?
As you would like them to do to you.
Yeah, as you would like them to do to you. I don't like that rule. I have the platinum rule. Do unto others as they would like done to them.
That's it.
Right?
That is the new golden rule.
It is the golden rule because
It will be done to.
right for me may not be right for you. So this forces you to get to know them a little bit, doesn't it? I don't care how big or small the auction is, I'm gonna spend time at a live auction to go shake hands with people who are bidders. I may never see them again, I'll guarantee you I won't remember their name. I'll remember their bidder number, but I won't remember their name. But I made the effort to connect with them. How huge do you think that is?
Significant.
It's significant. Well, we don't do live auctions anymore than benefits, so everything's online. So how do I do that with my online customers? Handwritten note,
Yeah.
send them a personal email that's not a blanket blast, or get on the phone.
We'll get on the
You know
phone.
what?
Pick up
I
that phone.
appreciate it. Dan, listen, thank you. You just spent $15,000 buying some used fire equipment. I just wanted to make sure that everything went well for you. Is there anything I can do? Do you have any feedback for me? And again, thank you so much for your business. What do you think that phone call's worth?
A lot.
I
A
know.
lot. How
Yeah.
many
If
times
you
do you
call
think
me,
Dan
I'd
has
be
bought
like-
something from an auction company where that
Yeah.
didn't happen?
Every time.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that of all the auctioneers in Colorado, I probably write more thank you cards by hand than the rest of them combined. It's expensive, isn't it? Postage is 55 cents
Yeah,
a piece.
I know.
Card itself is, I'm spending $1 every time I write a thank you card. How much money do you think I've earned in repeat business because of that?
Thousand,
The
I
bad
mean,
thing
yeah.
is the crapshoot where they're gonna get it with postal service.
Post office, I sent out a flyer, we used to do printed flyers before social media became so well. So I'm talking storage auction flyer, 2006, 2007. The post office returned it last year as undeliverable.
Our local newspaper person went to the state of Texas to report our post office because he couldn't get his newspaper. They were getting their newspapers a week after they were printed.
Wow,
From our
locally.
local.
Well, our town has a very big post office, you have building trucks in and out every day.
Yeah, old school.
You mail something at our post office in Monument, Colorado, you put it in the slot that says local delivery, Monument, Colorado, you get it back and it has a Pittsburgh stamp on it. Okay, you went from Monument to Denver to Pittsburgh, back to Denver, back to Monument to put it in my mailbox. Why don't you just put it in my mailbox? But then I realized it's the federal government and we simply can't do things that are logical, so. All right, let me sum this up for you. Ethics, black and white, right? You don't have a choice. You need to do what's right even if it's painful. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Professionalism is ethics on steroids. You gotta go above and beyond, even if it's not legally required, even though it's not morally required. If it's the right thing to do to establish that relationship, do it. I don't know what that means for each of you, it's gonna be different, but you need to learn that going above and beyond is the bare minimum. You gotta do what's right for your customers. You gotta constantly think about, how do I make this relationship better? My business is a relationship industry. I'm a service provider. I provide a service to people I'm building a relationship with. And they return the favor by doing business with me. And when they do business with me, I am appreciative. I don't care what I've sold. I don't care who my seller is. I don't care who my buyer is. I know that without them, I'm dead broke. Dead broke. With them, I live a pretty good life. And I'm appreciative, so I want to show them that. And it's amazing, when I show them that appreciation, they show it right back. Pretty cool, huh? So I want you to think about all this. I don't know what professionalism means to you personally. Figure it out. I don't care if you wear a tie or not. I don't care if you write thank you cards or not. But find a way to be above and beyond and take that high road all the time. Right? Jones is going to beat you to death with the laws and the rules and regulations, and you need to know them. But go above that. All right, Miss Lori, any comments? Notices, discussion.
Meeting.
Still got one more to go to Sherry.
Okay. All right, I'm going to make you guys an offer because I'm starting to feel better. My voice is coming back. I will meet you all in here tonight if you want. This is a volunteer at 9:30 when I'm done with dinner and you guys are done with dinner. And I'll spend half hour, hour and a half, however long I stay awake. And we'll do some bid calling drills like we've been doing. And I'll give you some individual coaching. If you don't come, that's fine. If you do come, that's fine. It's purely volunteer. If you're here for 10 minutes and go, that's fine. If you want to bring an adult beverage with you, that's fine. But I'm going to control the room, and whoever's in here gets a chance to call some bids and get some feedback. 9:30. And if I'm late, it won't be by much, but 9:30 is the goal. By 10:30, I'll probably be pretty wiped out. But if I have energy, I'll go as long as you guys do. So just an opportunity, because you're going to see different instructors. Laura, you're going to need to make sure I have access tonight so I can do coaching later. So, my normal way of getting in? Okay.
What overachievers are gonna come at 9:30? Who is it?
I'm staying
Who is
25
it?
miles away, so.
I'll be here.
Who's
The
that?
offer's here. So, if y'all want to, 9:30, I'll be in here.
Cause I want to, but I'm.
Other announcements,
I'm
Lori?
at 8:30.
Well, I'm gonna pass out bidder cards for you all.
Say it again.
I'm gonna pass out bidder cards. You will stick them in your name tag behind.
Okay.
So this will be shown. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Good, there you go. Huh?
Rich, what about if we do it
No, this
in
is
the
just,
morning?
this is going to be
before
your
we
number
start
for the
class?
fun auction.
Rich does not get up early.
Are you listening?
Listen up to Lori,
This
please.
is your number for the fun auction. I linked some records to this number. If you get to bid in class, which is rare, for the reason that when we let you bid, when one of your fellow classmates is trying to sell, it gets too chaotic. It gets too confusing. They can't really work at what they're doing. So that's why we do most of the bidding, but maybe later in the week you'll get to, so you'll have your card, okay? So don't lose it. Preston Cooley. Where's Preston Cooley? These are in numerical order by the alphabetical order, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Y'all know what I mean? Are you brain dead?
She's organized. We'll get the right
Eric?
number, I assure you.
You want me to tell you a story about service?
Please.
Handing out cards?
Please.
We're rodeoing 1978, 4th of July run, Cowboy Christmas. Been to, 5 rodeos in 3 days. We're beat up. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Red Rock, Wyoming, little cafe, open sign. We're hungry. Everybody gonna eat. We wake up, pull in there. Lady says, "We boys look pretty beat up." "Yes, sir, ma'am." "Yes, ma'am. We've been rodeoing, been 5 rodeos, 3 days, pretty beat up." So she takes her order and said, "Anything else?" I said, "Ma'am," I said, "how about a few kind words with my meal?" So she brings her food back. She goes to leave. I said, "Ma'am," I said, "you missed something." She said, "What?" I said, "Well, I asked for a few kind words." She said, "Don't use them."
Go, Brittany. You're welcome.
So, I've been traveling the country, training either in the auction industry or in the corporate world for the past 20-something years. I've been all over the country. I've been in hotels, good and bad. I've had some of the worst food and some of the worst service on the planet. I've also had some good opportunities. In 2001, so we're talking over 20 years ago, I ended up in Carbondale, Illinois. You all know where Carbondale is, southern part of the state. I was in a Holiday Inn. Is Holiday Inn a high-class, high-service, 5-star hotel? Go back 20 years, what was it? The Holiday Inn 20 years ago was pray that there aren't living things in your bag. Super 8, right? So I'm in the lobby of this hotel. Y'all know by now that I'm addicted to Diet Coke because I've already had about 2.5 liters today. I go up to the soda machine, I put my money in, I press the button, out comes a regular Coke. If y'all drink diet soda, regular soda just doesn't cut it. I mean, it's like poison, it's gross. If you drink regular soda, you're gonna have the same reaction with a diet. Either way, I pressed the button, the wrong soda came out. And in this level of volume, I went, shit. It was that loud. I was just upset because I just put my money in the machine, I ate what I wanted. The guy washing the floor down the hall on the other side of the aisle of the lobby heard me. I didn't realize I was that loud. I apologize. But he came over and he said, what's the matter? I said, no, it's no big deal. I got the wrong soda. He says, what are you trying to get? I said, Diet Coke. He said, what did you get? I said, Coke. He said, let me fix that for you. He took money out of his pocket, put it in the machine, bought a Diet Coke, handed me the Diet Coke, said, have a good evening. Is it the guy cleaning the floor? Is it his job to make sure I had the right soda? No. Was this service above and beyond? Yes. This was 20 plus years ago, and I do customer service training 2 or 3 times a year, so 20 times 3 is what? 60? Maybe more. I've probably told this story 60, 7,500 times. That I've given credit to the Holiday Inn in Southern Illinois. Because this one guy took 50 cents out of his pocket to make sure I was having a good day. Is that customer service?
Yes, sir.
Is that above and beyond?
Yes, sir.
You don't think I think when I travel down there that I don't look at that Holiday Inn first as a place to stay? What was that 50-cent investment he did for the company?
A lot more than that.
You know, I've been down there 3 times since then. That's the first place I go. I probably spent $300-400 on a 50-cent investment. Did he care about the $300 or $400?
No.
He just saw a customer, what happened, he tried to fix it. That's what I strive for with my team. It's not a big deal. Had he not done it, would I have noticed?
No.
But he did, and I noticed.
Or the man of God doing his Christian duty.
Very well.
See, but I'll tell you, if somebody does something like that for me, I make sure I go the extra mile and make sure his company knows about it.
How many of you will tell management if you had a problem?
Not usually.
How many will get on Yelp or Facebook and post it if you had a problem?
No, I don't do that. I think it's-
Society is, for every person who calls management and says,
I do
hey, you
both
did a
ways.
good job, there's 10 that'll get on and
Yeah.
post that you did a bad job.
Apparently,
If you do a great job, they'll tell 10 people. If you do a bad job, they'll tell 1,000.
And 1,000 people will repeat the story. So, guys, do this, favor to me, when you get good service, say something. Appreciate it. All right, 9:30 tonight if you want.
For real, you really gonna come here at 9:30?
I will be here.
I'm gonna
9:30.
come and skip my workout in the morning.
I will be here.
So we're all gonna hang here until Denton's finished.
Hang on.
Well, I'm not gonna let y'all go and then he can't go. So tomorrow's a really, really busy day. We have Rich, we have John Schultz doing the media and marketing and what? You looked at me funny. Couple hours on that class. We have Doak Lambert, Denton's father, is
Oh,
gonna be
yeah.
here teaching. Awesome. We have Philip Braun, who Mike has mentioned a couple times. He works at Manheim. He's been in the auto auction industry for a long time. He does fundraising events, works with Mike a lot, me. Great guy. We have him too. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instructors
Ooh, tomorrow.
So we're gonna be rocking and
Moving.
rolling. It's gonna be great. And I also want us to say bye to Sherry tonight.
Yeah, she
Thank
was
her
awesome.
too.
She's awesome.
I want to try to talk in the morning briefly about the fun auction, the charity auction. It's Wednesday evening at 5:30. So on Wednesday, we will go to lunch early. Instead of 1, we'll go at 12. And you'll come back, we'll have class at around 4:30 or 4:45. We'll give you a break until about 5:20, 5:30, so that you can go have a snack, change your clothes if you want to put on a sport coat or wear
Okay.
something different, because you're going to be on Facebook Live doing the auction. And then we'll come back and do the auction, and when it's over, we're finished for the day. And here's the other thing. I'm going to give you a consignment form tomorrow or Monday morning. As soon as you know what item you're going to donate, I'm gonna need you to put it on that form. You'll fill out the top with your name. The number you got tonight is your consigner number. There's a little place to put it. And turn those in to me. I need them all back by Wednesday morning at the latest, okay? Some of you probably already know your item. And because I'm wanting to put them in the computer and have it all ready, because I'm the clerk and I'm the floor manager and I'm doing a lot of things on the day of your auction. So it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I've had a few questions about who will be here. You, Mike and I, maybe a couple other instructors. We will have some of our past students, some of our graduates that live in the area, they come. It's not really open to the public, okay? If any of you have a spouse or a girlfriend here and they want to come into the auction, that's awesome.
Just don't bring both at the same time.
If you have a exactly.
It's the conversation.
If you have a friend, if you live in this area and you have a friend that wants to come, I mean, literally, we've had as many people as we can get in the back of the room before.
Okay, yeah.
You know, we've had 20, we've had 7. We just don't ever know. But there will be some guests, okay? So, any questions on that? So you won't bring your items to me until Wednesday after lunch.
So Monday,
I brought like 4 or 5 items, so in
Okay.
case anybody doesn't
Okay.
oh, that was nice, Kevin.
have an item.
All right, that's very nice.
Thanks, Kevin, that was very nice.
Okay, so if anybody doesn't have an item, get with Kevin.
Yeah, get with Kev.
And, you know, we'll talk a little bit more in the morning about the items, but it's not pressure. It's not about how much the item cost. It's about the cause. What your item sells for goes to St. Jude Children's Hospital and Texas Scottish Rite Hospital for Children. So it's giving you an auction experience, which is part of the curriculum. And we're raising money and we're having fun. Rich used to be here for the student auction a lot of the time,
Love the
but
student auction.
we've got him on a little bit of a different schedule right now, so he's missing it, and I'm missing him because he helps me a lot with it, but.
It's a process.
Tell
Guys,
him
you have
your
no
thoughts.
idea how hard this woman works to put this class on. Because you met Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is a phenomenal auctioneer and a great instructor, but none of this happens without Lori. So she's the bones of this outfit. How many of you have actually sold an item to the public in a live auction? A couple of you, good. The rest of you, this is your first time actually selling a live
Actually, I did
auction
when I was
for real
about
money.
10.
It's cool.
It counts.
It's fun. It's exciting. You're gonna be nervous as hell.
But,
Yeah, I guarantee you, no matter how much we coach you, $5 bid now, 10 now, 10, will you give me 10? Some of you are gonna come up here and go, what comes after 1?
No, I won't.
And some of you are gonna get up here and you're gonna go
You
so
won't.
fast. We don't care. Just we want to come here and have the experience. It's amazing.
So do we get to start drinking adult beverages at
After.
1, 2, or 3 to make the auction better?
After.
You know, I mean, I know
After.
I don't.
We're gonna start
Yeah.
drinking early, but
So,
I saw a question somewhere in there.
Yeah, everybody in this room can bid. You have your bidder numbers, you can bid on any items. If you donate an item and want to bid on your own item,
Yeah,
you
sure.
can.
How can we
Yes, sir.
pay? So you made a comment earlier, I heard you, I'm curious, that the Irishman, he made his little pass on you, a little fun.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And you said,
He was
kind of
cute.
under your breath, they're like, oh, I remember that class, that was a crazy class. Why was it crazy? Entertain us for a second while we wait for dinner.
Well, they were a great class, and it was in 2018, there was no COVID. So the hotel we were in, the restaurant was open,
Yeah.
the bar was
Fun,
open.
packed.
Every night after class, almost all of the class went to the hotel restaurant and bar. They didn't go out to eat. They all ate together, drank
they got
together,
close.
practiced. They'd sit out there and practice their drills and their chant, and they became the closest class, probably one of the closest I've ever seen. And Colum and his daughter Marie, well, you saw him today. They know no strangers. They're interested in talking to people. They can drink like a fish and be the first ones in the classroom in the morning, just bright-eyed and ready to go. So, you know, I know they stayed out late and had a great time and networked, and they just got really close. And that's what I meant, is they were having fun, but they all showed up for class. They were all paying attention. We just didn't have any problems with anybody. Yeah, and they stay in touch, a lot of them, and that's what I hope you'll do too. You know, you're making friends, and maybe some of you will work together, or you can refer auctions to each other, and that's another thing, good point. So I'm preparing a roster. I'll give you a chance to tell me if you want some different information on it than what you used when you enrolled, but it'll have your name, address, phone number, email, and it will be in your packet on the last day. Okay?
For like our classmates.
Yeah, can we share?
That's
it with
good, 'cause,
everybody?
yeah.
You're gonna get
Yeah,
everybody.
each one of
That's
you are
great.
gonna get it.
Oh,
You're
that's
gonna have a
awesome.
roster
Start
so
the
you
group
can
text.
stay in touch.
TikToks, Instagrams, Facebooks.
All of it.
You will have that, you will have your pictures in that same packet. We take them on Monday, right before lunch, and they will be in your packet on Friday. Your diploma will be in your packet. I know all of you will pass the test. Your diploma will be in there. Copies of all the forms that you signed will be in there, and I put an auctioneer's prayer in there. That's
Thank
really
you.
cool. So.
Are we gonna hear your chant, Lori?
Michael,
Why you say probably, that means that there's a possibility.
do you know what's so funny? I've judged contests. I'm very detailed and good at doing that, and I can do the bid calling. I just never do it with him around. And everyone that I'm around that are such champion auctioneers, that's their passion. That's what they do. And that's not my passion in this industry. I work the ring. I like to work the floor. I work events, and to me, that's the most fun, and that's where I fit.
Awesome.
Now, if I was at an auction, who was I telling this to? Oh yeah, it was Monty, because he was talking about maybe his wife wanting to come. She didn't want any part of learning the chant. The reason that you need to, if you're going to be an auctioneer, is if you're working an event and the auctioneer gets sick, he's late, if anything like that happens, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. I could do it. If I was working an auction and it was like, you got to get up there, I would do it. So, you know, I just give the glory to the great instructors and to all of you, and I don't know, maybe I'll sell something at the auction. We'll see.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool? Okay.
Sherry's back.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Sherry.
Yeah.
Do you want to say, some parting words? They're itching to go watch football.
Oh, they are? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, they're not going to practice? No.
They're gonna get some
Anyway,
food.
if I told anybody, if you can find me on Facebook, I'm Sherry Deal Sutton. And if you have any questions at any time, you can message me on there. You can send me voice recordings of what you're doing and what you're practicing, and I'll give you my opinion back. Maybe right or wrong, but at least I'll give you something, a way to contact me, but it's through Messenger, because when I'm on the plane to Boston, that's when I check our messages on Messenger, and that's the best way to get a hold of me, so I can, and usually I'll get back to you. It may take me a day or so, or whatever, depending on what's going on, but I would love to help each.
Why does it take you that long? You don't have anything.
Nothing at all. I looked after her students after lunch. I felt like I was falling asleep on them, standing up in there. I had to get some coffee and get revived. But anyway,
It's
yeah,
amazing.
I love helping you guys, so, and make you, to help you achieve your goals and get the chant that you want to accomplish. But every one of you was amazing in there. From when we did the round table, or the round group, to what you all just did in there, there's not one of y'all that didn't make changes in that short amount of time. So I can tell that your brains are working and you were able to put together what I was telling you to do. But I cannot tell you all enough. Get the yes tape, make the yes tape, and you practice to that yes tape and the other tape recorder you tape yourselves, so that you don't pick up those bad habits and then they get into really bad habits that you can't break, those bad words. So, I saw bad words that I won't mention, but anyway, I'm just impressed with everybody in there. I cannot believe the changes I saw in the short amount of time that we did. I love doing that round deal and then bringing them one-to-one.
Okay.
Because it actually, it gave me something to work with.
Sure.
With each one of them, and then I was able to do some corrections, so.
Well, I like that.
highly
We'll
advise
switch that,
next
because
time.
normally she comes in and we just start sending people out.
Yeah, we
So,
don't get to do that round deal where I can bring you and hear you and then put you into one-to-one and then, but not one of it didn't. It was impressive how you were much better when you did one-on-one, so.
well, thank you,
Thank
Sherry.
you.
Let's give her a big That's amazing. Okay, so just throw your trash away, push in your chairs, try to practice tonight or in the morning, and you are all on target. You're all doing
Well, I've got another one too, but that's the one that I added is Roadhouse Chronicles.
Doing your morning stuff? Oh, yeah, I want to see that.
In our packet, you said we're gonna have
Because we've been wanting
our
to do,
students,
like,
will you have like her information, like she just told us? Yeah.
No, it's a roster of just your class. I don't
Okay.
have, but, if
Is that-
she, you know.
I couldn't hear back there, I wanted to get her
She was
information.
saying to look her up on Facebook.